Dear audience, I am Seda BOSTANCI from Tekirdağ Namık Kemal University and Head of Political Science and Public Administration Department. And I am very happy for taking a part in the International Conference of Contemporary Affairs in Architecture and Urbanism. And today I am going to talk about searching for methods in examining the appearance of urban skylines. So, urban skylines represent a memorable reference corresponding to the city by reflecting the specific identity values, general characteristics, and aesthetic qualities. The postcards in the information guides of the cities are important reference in representing the identity for historical cities. These photographs seen in the information guidebooks and postcards are attractive points for citizens and visitors of the cities. There are some skyline views of the cities that can be seen in those photographs. And also, in most of the cities, such as Istanbul and its historical peninsula, the coastal skylines, which have been conserved to a very limited context, show the image of a very limited area. But when someone views the image from the city skyscrapers, one can see what the city as a whole looks like. And you can see the chaotic view from Istanbul European side. So it is very important for protecting the historical skylines of the cities. And also all the cities have a meaningful skylines. This is also very important area. And you can see in this photographs, the urban cardiograms like the Istanbul skylines. There are various research areas on skylines and silhouette, like protection of historical urban skylines, facade analysis, future models in urban three-dimensional appearances, high building policies, and view management. Urban skylines also provide the best visual representation to observe the phenomenon of urban transformation and change. The aim of this study is to form a basis for a multi-component urban skyline assessment model that includes formal and social psychological dimensions by grouping the methodologies of studies on urban skylines. So we have some methods, and in the methods, we have grouped these methods as presentation, and also from more than 10 years, I am studying for all these methods. So I am always finding some solution for protecting the urban skylines. So in the first one, some descriptive studies for analyzing aesthetic quality of urban skylines. These are the studies made by understanding the opinion of the respondents for urban skylines, and semantic differential for urban skyline aesthetic analysis, cognitive studies for urban skylines. And in the second one, there are some mathematical, statistical, and computer-based studies for analyzing the aesthetic quality of urban skylines. These are the information entropy for evaluation of urban skylines, JS modeling urban skylines, space syntax analysis for urban skyline, and fractal geometry for urban skylines. And the studies made by understanding the opinions of the respondents of urban skylines. Generally, in aesthetic evaluation studies, city views are asked to be rated by the respondents. In these approaches, the participants can directly ask how they like the visual analysis, and as well as their opinions are examined with experimental approaches and statistical techniques based on these questionnaires. So, semantic differential for urban skyline aesthetic analysis, adjective pairs are used together with the semantic differential method. As an example of adjective pairs depending on aesthetic factors, contrasts such as pleasant, boring, different, habitual, meaningful, meaningless, interesting, not interesting, and different, monotonous. A schematic differential scale using the adjective pairs for evaluation the aesthetic dimensions of urban skylines used in some of the studies. And also we make some cognitive studies for urban skylines, and we draw some pictures how they remember the skyline for our architectural students. And generally in cognitive studies related to urban design, spatial motion and environmental interactive issues come to mind, like cognitive mapping and wayfinding, and also how the image created by the skylines of historical cities can be explained by drawing. The basic differences between the cognitive mapping techniques and the cognitive perception and the semantic displays of skyline can be discussed through this experimental approach. This study investigated the effects of cognitive features of urban skylines in visual thinking system. And also Stephen Wilshire is very important about how in the mind the skyline can be viewed. And he is a very important example. You can also make some researches about him. And also this is my PhD thesis area as information entropy for evaluation urban skyline. And also you can see some definitions about entropy here, but I try to explain in a very limited process. So entropy has two main definitions within the fields of probability theory and thermodynamic laws together with statistics. Aesthetic evaluation is being developed in the intersection of objectivity and subjectivity. In current studies being conducted on issues of urban design and aesthetics, the use of mathematical and computer-based methods have mounting importance. Using objective methods for aesthetic evaluation is included in the fields of theory and application as new concepts. These methods used in the aesthetic evaluation of the city involve approaches in relation with the formation of the urban form in different scales. So we use entropy also in thermodynamic way, as you can maybe think about the heat islands of the cities, like the mapping and environmental sustainability. And on the other hand, we can use the statistics and probability theory for entropy. And in this part, we saw the entropy related to information theory as spatial organization or urban design in urban aesthetics. There are three steps for the application of entropy method to aesthetic evaluation in urban design, skyline scale. These are finding the analyzable data. This is the skyline photographs and the analytic process of skylines for diversity and clarity, the mathematical evaluation from coding data for finding the entropy value. And you can see these are the schematic explanation of entropy method for skyline evaluation. And also this method can be taken to the GIS modeling. And now we are talking about GIS for modeling urban skylines. And also I have all the references in my full paper, you can find them. And GIS-based techniques displays buildings in the third dimension, thus three-dimensional images of cities such as Google Earth can be displayed together with their morphology. These techniques are applied with innovative approach, especially in urban skyline studies on high buildings. GIS and entropy are coordinated to validate the measurability of skyline and its temporal transformation. So you can see how we relate the entropy and GIS methodology. And in this one, also we make the skylines for GIS modeling in this schematic explanation. And this is the entropy formula. And these are the GIS techniques, some of the drawings we made. Then we found the change of aesthetic values within the years, as you can see. And space syntax analysis for urban skylines. Space syntax, which is Among the objective methods considered, the aesthetic evaluation of the city is an interactive approach that determines the relations between external influences that produce forms of social forces. Space syntax is also applied to urban GIS studies. This method also can make a certain evaluation on the effects of urban skylines. And also we tried fractal geometry for our skyline analysis. So various computer programs have been developed for fractal dimension measurements and model proposals. Among this, HARFA program is used to measure the visual richness of images. HARFA means compatible fractal image analyzer. Visual data are measured according to fractal parameters and numerical values are obtained from fractal terms. So for conclusions, studies on urban skylines provide important information on the transformation process of the cities. In this process, various drawbacks of applying the interpretation methods created by using the fields of engineering sciences and physics in urban design may arise. Generally, as discussed here, in the method processes, numerical models of visual scan can be produced with various techniques. This study shows so many various approaches exist regarding urban skylines that can only be considered as a symbolic image of a city. These studies will gradually develop into a more integrated urban skyline assessment model by establishing connections with each other and funding of the fields such as artificial intelligence and fuzzy logic. Apart from all methods, preserving the aesthetic values of urban skylines depends on the ability of city manager to claim this process. At the same time, a positive public opinion can be created in this area if the new generation mobile phone applications can attract more attentions of citizens regarding urban skylines are developed. Benefiting from the models mentioned here in order to protect the skylines in the historical and new development areas in the aesthetic boards of the municipalities can produce very effective results. So before the project, urban skyline effects can be modeled before a project is realized like a simulation. This may be an opportunity for some early interventions. And thank you for listening to me.